Mistakes. Um, I find this topic interesting for a few reasons. One being, I really have come to the conclusion in my life that mistakes are meant to teach us things. Like, we make mistakes to learn. Like, life is quite literally about trial and error. And that seems like such like a simple, easy, like known fact, but we have this culture of not forgiving, just generally, like whether it comes to cancel culture, like, which is a huge thing that I think took over somehow for a while. I think it's kind of dying down now, but like it was like this huge thing for a while that everyone just like hopped on without even a second thought. And now in retrospect, I think that cancel culture defeats the whole purpose of how we're supposed to live in general. Now, I say this because with cancel culture, it doesn't give people the opportunity to grow and to learn from their mistakes. Even if they know what they did was wrong, like, it doesn't give people the opportunity to redeem themselves. But that is with the condition that people want to redeem themselves. Someone has to want to redeem themselves in order to really benefit from the gift of forgiveness, in my opinion. But to completely write someone off because they wronged you, or to completely write someone off because they made a mistake, is a thing that is more and more common, I feel like, now. Or at least I'm seeing it a lot now. And mistakes are literally how we learn and grow. And I feel like I grew up with this such anxiety attached to making any wrong move that it kept me stagnant. It kept me still. It kept me not progressing at all. It kept me not regressing, but also not progressing. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's worth having a conversation about not holding on to our own mistakes and not holding on to other people's mistakes. I just had a moment right now where I was just going over, things that I might need to forgive myself for. And literally, the whole journey I went through, the only way I was able to forgive myself for certain things was thinking about when someone else did those things and release the grudge and the animosity that I had towards them. And only then was I able to look at myself for doing the same things and forgive myself. I wanted to add that this wasn't necessarily me thinking about someone else that did the exact same thing that I did, that I was trying to forgive myself for. It was more just the more that I forgave other people generally for things, and the more that I got into the practice of feeling my feelings, accepting how I feel about the situation, how the thing made me feel, but releasing that heavy negative energy from that person and releasing it off of myself, and both parties deciding to move forward. I think that's more what forgiveness is about, not like specific, transgressions. And so it was an overarching, like, wow, I'm really able to forgive this person for whatever they did. So whatever this is that I'm dealing with in here, regardless of how it matches up, if it's the same, if one is worse than the other, like whatever it is, if I'm able to continuously be in the practice of forgiving other people, no matter what they do. Like, obviously, some things will be harder than others. It's just like harder tests than others. If I have that muscle of being able to forgive people constantly, just approaching things with grace and love, I can extend that same courtesy to myself, because I know my intentions And I know that I am just trying to work every day to be better. Even if I slip, even if I take 17 steps back, I'm able to approach myself with grace because I have been actively working to approach others with grace. And another point that kind of branched off from this is how I used to be, like I was saying before, like I used to be so afraid to move because I didn't want to make a mistake. And I think it stemmed from me not being able to understand the concept of full forgiveness. And for a long time, I didn't. Like, I would do something, and if I felt like I offended that person or thought that I offended that person without even like concrete evidence about how they feel about the situation, I would start projecting and start being over apologetic and doing all of these things because I just couldn't grasp the concept that someone, when they say that they forgave me, that they completely and utterly forgave me, and that as long as I intentionally don't go down that path again and don't do the same thing again, that there is grace over me and the situation. And because I held grudges, because even if I said I forgave someone, I would still kind of hold that thing in the back of my head to maybe store for later, use it for later, or for whatever reason, just like, or even just to set up a barrier of like, oh, they did that, they said they were sorry, and I said I forgave them, but I'm still gonna kind of keep them at arm's length because they hurt me in this way. And so I felt like other people had to have been doing the same thing towards me. So I had this energy that I can't mess up, because every time I mess up, yeah, they may say it's okay and the relationship may seem fine, but they're always going to have that in the back of their head. And two things about that. One being, if someone says that they forgive you, or even take it back a step further, if someone doesn't even tell you that you did something to upset them, that you don't, and you're just like making things up in your head because you think you might have upset them, those things are not, they just can't be your personal responsibility. They can't be my responsibility unless the conversation is actually being had, you know? So if you said you forgive me, it's now both of our responsibilities to make sure we are actually moving forward in a space of grace and forgiveness. And you can't say you forgive somebody and then continually bring up the situation over and over and over again. And as the transgressor, I don't even know if that's a word, but for today's purposes it is. As the transgressor, if the person said that you were forgiven, you can't continuously walk on eggshells around this person in regards to that thing or in regards to the entire relationship, because that means that the forgiveness wasn't like actual, you know what I mean? Because if you were forgiven, and you need to move forward together instead of one of you harboring a grudge and the other person, you know, suffering from the effects of that grudge. I had to switch to my phone really quickly. I hope I'm explaining this in a way that makes sense, because I do feel like I'm kind of rambling, but I'm also do feel like I'm saying everything that needs to be said. So, yeah, I just wasn't able to fully understand forgiveness and fully walk out forgiveness, even though I was saying I was forgiving people, until I actually intentionally started releasing grudges. And that helped free up space in me, because I'm releasing grudges off of myself that I was having towards myself, and grudges that I was harboring towards other people at the same time. And so I think it's really underestimated how powerful forgiveness can be and what it can do for both parties involved in the situation. So I just wanted to insert that. I think that says a lot about how grace and forgiveness works, how I just like double whammied in this moment, forgave myself and released the weight off of my shoulders, but also released the weight off of my shoulders off of someone else doing the same thing. Knowing that that person wants to be better and knowing that I want to be better. And that's all we can really focus on. I can't focus on what I did yesterday or the day before that or 3 years ago. I just know that who I am right now is a person that wants to be better than all of those versions of me. And I took what happened and thought about it and thought about how I wanted to move forward and use it as a lesson. And that can be so liberating if we continue to apply that to our everyday situations, our everyday lives, right? But I do recognize that it's hard to do that in a culture that isn't necessarily receptive to experimenting, failing, or experimenting, making a mistake, or doing something wrong, even though you know it's wrong, or doing something for yourself, but then regretting it. Like, there doesn't really feel like that there's any wiggle room. So people kind of just like fall in line and do what feels safe, which doesn't make for a very abundant lifestyle or society or community, in my opinion. So just a little food for thought that I just had, and I'm sharing it with you. Try to forgive yourself for things and try to forgive other people for things. It's just a huge weight. And I've been thinking about this a lot recently about how life is hard enough. Like, truly, there's so much we have to deal with already that we just don't need to be harping on each other or fighting each other while we have so much other life stuff to already be dealing with, is really the attitude that I've had recently. So I think there's battles, and I think it's important to pick those battles, as people love to say. And literally the wind just like flipped open my notebook to another note that I had that I got from a class that I took almost, I guess, over a year ago. And it defined hurt. Like, when someone wrongs you and you get hurt, or you get hurt in any capacity, you hurt yourself or you get hurt physically or emotionally or mentally, whatever, they defined hurt as an unmet expectation. And I thought that was a great way to kind of put something tangible on that word, because you can you can be feeling sad or angry or upset, but not necessarily, there's a doggy right there, it's so cute, but not necessarily know why. And when you think about the situation that hurt you and you think of it as an unmet expectation, you can kind of pinpoint, okay, why am I hurt in this situation, and deal with it from that angle, instead of just being hurt and you don't really know how to get through the hurt, so you just stay hurt and then you hold that grudge and you stay angry and you stay sad or you say whatever. So I thought that was a really, really great tool to use, so I'm sharing that as well. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say.